Okay, welcome to the video. SIG Guy here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to remove the loaded chamber indicator in your SIG Sauer P320 so that you can use a barrel that does not have the loaded chamber indicator notch in it. Okay, that LCI must come out of the pistol in order to make this barrel fit in there. So with that, let's get started. Obviously, the first thing we do whenever we're working on any firearms is make sure it's a clear and safe firearm. So we're going to remove the magazine, lock our slide to the rear, physically and visually check, make sure there's no round in the chamber, no magazine, check our breech face, look away, do the same thing again, chamber, magazine, breech face. This is a clear and safe firearm. And then I'll do the same thing for my M17 here. These are both clear and safe. All right, so I get a lot of people that buy barrels off of SIGguy.com. They get their barrels, they go to put it in. They say, hey, I ordered the wrong barrel. It does not fit. You guys really need to understand what your firearms are before ordering any products for them, okay? Because clearly if these people knew what type of firearm they had, they would realize that they did order the correct barrel. It just was not fitting into the pistol because of the loaded chamber indicator, okay? And all this stuff is in the descriptions on the website. These customers just clearly did not read the descriptions, as it's right at the top that you must remove the LCI, okay? So why would you want to remove the LCI? If you're running an optic on your firearm, a lot of gases, once you fire your pistol, come out through this hole. It gets all over the front of your optic lens. And then if you're out in the sunny conditions or whatnot, or any conditions really, depending on how much you shoot, it makes it harder and harder to see through your optic, actually what you're aiming at. So a lot of people prefer not to have the LCI in there, so they'll remove the LCI and then they'll get a barrel that does not have the cutout in it, so that way none of the gases can come out through there and get all over the lens of the optic. So we're going to show you how to remove that in this M18. It's the same exact process for the M17. There are a couple other different processes where the technique is pretty much the same, just the screws that hold on your plate are in different locations, okay? So again, same process, just a little bit different screw location. So the only thing we're going to need for our M18 is a T15 Torx screwdriver, or if you got an Allen wrench with Torx on there, it's got to be a T15, okay? And make sure that this fits very snugly. Make sure it's not stripped or rounded off, you know, the end here, because these screws are they're in there with Loctite or some other product that makes it like a thread locker, and it's very hard to snap it loose the very first time. So if your screw, the driver you're using is worn or stripped here on the end, you could potentially just round off the screw, and then you're in a whole worse situation, okay? So we're going to use this T15. First, we're just going to lock our slide to the rear. We're going to rotate our takedown lever, and we're going to remove our slide, and then we're going to remove our barrel, okay? And as you can see on this barrel here that it comes with the notch for the loaded chamber indicator, okay? Compared to something like the new Armory Craft barrel that does not have that notch in it, okay? True Precision used to have the notches in their barrels. They've since gone back to no loaded chamber indicators. Zafari's doing the same thing. Faxon, I'll have to double check to see if theirs has the notch in it, but it just seems like everybody's going back to the FDES Works. He doesn't have the notches in his. It just seems like everybody's going back to this style because these are very dirty and messy, especially when running optics. Okay. So now that we have our barrel removed, Next, we're going to remove our back plate and our striker so we can get to the screw that's holding on our optic plate. I did just confirm that the Faxon barrels for the compact Faxon barrels do not have the loaded chamber indicator in them as well, okay? So, we need to remove our back plate to remove our striker to get to the screw that's underneath, okay? So, if you have a regular 320, like this AXG Legion slide, not M18 or M17, that has the pin extractor plus here, does not have a Torx head on it. It's basically just a dimple where we can take any blunt object and basically push in on that. So it's spring loaded. So when we push in on this one, we slide our back plate down and then we can remove it just like that. Okay. The M17 is a little bit different than M18. So as you can see on this one here, it does spring in like because it's got the extractor spring in the center here. That's what the springing action is coming from. We can push that in, but we can't slide our back plate off. It's got to be kind of like unlocked. And I guess they don't want military members messing around inside here, so maybe that's the reason why they did the Torx bit, which to me it doesn't make sense. If you're in a combat situation and something malfunctions here and you need to take that off to fix it really quick and you don't have a Torx bit, I mean, you're screwed. So I don't know. I don't understand the whole thinking behind that. Anyway, so on your T15, we're basically going to push in like we did with the AXG. We're going to push in, and then we're going to start rotating it, okay? If it doesn't rotate, that means you're not pushed in far enough. So push it in, and then start rotating it, and then once it starts rotating, you don't have to push it in anymore. I'm just holding it with my finger here. And then we're going to rotate it about a quarter of a turn, and it's going to pop out, okay? See that? Show you that again. When we push in on it, we're going to start rotating it. I can relieve the pressure and then just rotate it, rotate it, rotate it, rotate it, and it pops out. Okay. So now that it is kind of disengaged or unlocked, now we can set it down. We can push that in and slide our back plate down. Okay. And then we'll remove our back plate altogether. And then we're going to remove our striker assembly as well. And then you'll see right there on the bottom, that's the screw that screws into our sight. And you can see our optic plate is just kind of sandwiched in the middle there. Okay, so next we're going to remove this screw. Like I mentioned in the beginning, it's crucial that you have a good tool, okay? Because you get one shot at this. Once you strip those screws, you're screwed. You're going to have to send this to a gunsmith, or if you've got a drill press or something, you can try drilling it out yourself. Basically going to make a mountain out of a little molehill. Going to make it a lot worse situation. So just make sure you got the right tool. Make sure there's no teeth broken off of your Torx bit. Make sure it's not stripped, and you're good to go. And when there's two ends on it like this, I wouldn't use the long end like this to break it loose, okay, because there's a lot of flex in it. It can snap the shaft here. It could break off the end. It could come out and strip it as you're turning it. I would use the short end just like this. Get as close as I can as possible. Push in as hard as I can, and then break it loose just like that. You're going to hear it go snap because the Loctite's going to break loose. And then we will just work our screw out. Just a very short screw. Okay. We'll set that aside over here. Then we can remove our rear sight. See the screw holes in the bottom there. Screw hole. All right, so when we tighten up that screw, very small screw, very few threads. We don't need to crank on this thing with like 100 foot-pounds. And then our optic plate is basically just held in there by two little posts on the optic plate that go forward into the slide there. So we're going to kind of lift up on the back and rotate it up. And I'm going to keep it flat like this so the LCI doesn't fall out as I lift it back. Okay. There's our optic plate. And then you can see our LCI in there. Just going to grab onto that. Pull it up out of there. It's basically just like a lever. Okay. It's got a little spring on it. Don't lose the spring. It's got these two posts here on the side that kind of pivot the LCI when it's in use. So basically bag this and tag this. That way you don't lose it, and if you want to reinstall it, you have all the pieces. So pay attention here. There's tons of lube under here, okay? Because like a lot of the gases from your spent cartridges come out through here. So they want to make sure it's all nice and lubed up so that way nothing gets seized in place and stops functioning. So now that we have the optic plate off, now is a good time to do some cleaning, okay? If you have not cleaned your upper in quite some time. We have our striker out. The striker cavity, whatever you want to use to get inside there to clean it. I usually use like bore cleaner and a 22 chamber brush. And kind of work it in there and get it all that carbon out of there, and like a million different Q-tips in there until the Q-tips start coming out nice and clean. Bone dry on this, okay? Our extractor, we can actually pull that out. This usually stays together. This is a pretty loose fit on this one for some reason. But we've got our extractor pin plus, the extractor spring, and then the extractor pin right there. 3 pieces. And then our extractor itself. This just falls right out. Okay, we're going to inspect our extractor. Make sure we got a nice sharp edge on here that's going to catch our case rim. And I do have all of this stuff on sigguy.com. If this stuff is pretty worn out, if your spring's bent from putting an optic screw down into the spring, whatever the case may be, if this stuff is pretty worn out, I do sell all that stuff on sigguy.com. So our extractor channel here, bunch of Q-tips. Just keep running them through there till it's nice and clean. Our breech face. Now's a good time to get on that with maybe I use chamber brush on there as well to get it nice and clean and everything. Making sure not to get any of this finish on the slide. And again, a 22 or something. Get that all nice and cleaned up. If any of that solution gets down into the hole, basically we're going to clean this out anyway, so now's a good time to do that. Okay. So once we have all of this all cleaned back up, now it's time to reassemble everything. So the first we're going to do is reinstall or reassemble our extractor. And what I want to point out here really quick is on our extractor pin plus, it's called, the rear portion here, it's got this flat spot in it, okay? It's a little bit different than the regular one. And I don't have these on the website yet, okay? I have these ones, the regular 320, which you can see there's no flat spot on there, okay? But I will get these. I will get the optic screws if they're available, and I'll get new LCIs and LCI springs as well, okay? And I'm pretty sure that these two parts are going to be the same part number, so I'll verify all that and put it on the website. Anyway, so when we reinstall our extractor, and we're at the point where we're putting on our back plate, okay, this flat spot needs to be facing the striker, the center of the pistol. That way we can slide our back plate up into position and lock it in place. If this is not in the correct plate position, you can't slide your back plate up, okay? So it's a lot easier to show you, not installed in the pistol. So there you have it. So on our extractor, when we're installing our extractor, it only goes in one way in the slide, okay, just like that. You see this little window behind it that you can see inside that channel. That little window's there to show you, to verify if this extractor is locked in place or not. When your extractor's in your slide just like that and you're looking through the side, this portion of your extractor pin goes over the extractor there and it locks it in place, okay? So it looks like this from the bottom, just like that, okay? If you can't see the extractor in the window, it's because you're like this. That means there's nothing holding your extractor in. The first time you go to shoot your pistol, it's going to go flying. You're probably never going to find it. Okay, so make sure when you're installed, you can see the extractor pin in the window, and that'll verify that it's locked in place just like that. So to demonstrate, put our extractor back in. You can see our little window in the back. We're going to slide in our extractor, and you can see right there the end of my extractor pin. If I rotate it around, and I'm pushing in on it, you can't see it in the window. Okay, so nothing's holding my extractor in. Basically got to make sure we're lined up properly. Slide it back in. You can see it in the window. We're good to go. Okay. And then, like I said, when we push this in, you can see right up. Grab something to point with here. You're looking right in through here. You want to see that flat spot of that pin plus. You can see it's pointed up right now. We're going to rotate that around until it's just like that, facing the striker itself. Okay. So we got that all in there. We're going to put our optic plate back on. No LCI in there. Okay, just like that. We're going to install our rear sight, just like that. We're going to take our screw, Loctite Blue 242. If you're not going to take this apart and you're going to run it like this for a while, we want to make sure that our screw doesn't back itself out and then you lose your sight. So we'll screw that in there. And again, this does not have to be cranked right in there. Just snug it. Okay. And then let this set overnight for that Loctite to set up. Okay. So now that we have that all assembled, we can install our striker. I'm going to check out my pin plus, make sure the flats are facing in. And slide in our striker. We're going to push in a little bit on our striker so we can get our back plate into the channels there. Just like that. Now we're going to push in on our extractor pin plus and push our rear slide plate back up into there. And then we're going to release our extractor pin plus. All that we have left is to basically lock this in place. So we're going to push in on our extractor pin plus past where it's flush. You know, we're going to kind of bottom it out there and we're going to start rotating it. And okay, I can actually remove my Torx and you can see it's in place, but it's not locked in place. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to make sure we keep rotating this until you hear it click into place. Just like that. Okay. And then when we're in the right position and we're not pushing in on it at all, we're just kind of holding our Torx bit there. We can't tighten it and we can't loosen it. It goes just a little bit and then that's it. Can't go any more that way, can't go any more that way. That means we're locked into place. That means it's not going to come out. Back plate's not going to fall off. And we are good to go. So all we need to do now is just basically install our new barrel. So we're going to use the Armory Craft new threaded barrels. And again, you're going to want to lube all this up, lube your hood up and everything. It'll help cut down on the wear as well. Lube up the barrel here. Basically threads nice and clean. We don't want any lube on our threads. We're going to install our barrel just like that. Now we have a nice proper fit without the LCI in there. It is locked up. If the LCI is in there, your barrel is going to be like that. Okay? And then you're going to call me or message me and say, hey, this is the wrong barrel. When it's not the wrong barrel, you got the correct barrel. You just got to remove the LCI. Okay? So we got that in there. We can install our guide rod. We can put our thread protector back on if we're not going to put a compensator on it or a suppressor. And reinstall our lower, just like that. And there you have it. Obviously, you want to do a function check on this before we turn it to service, and then we want to bring it to the range and make sure it runs reliably for a couple hundred rounds before we put it back into service. So one other thing that I'm very curious about is, can I remove this feature on the M18 and convert it to the version where I don't have to use a Torx bit? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to remove that one there, grab the AXG, we'll remove this one here. Put this into the M18. Looking through the window, locked into place. Striker's already in it. Back plate. Get my back plate on there. Depress that. Lock it into place. And there you go. So if you want to actually get rid of this altogether and just use the regular standard 320, that's an option as well. If you want to retain, the factory part, I will get these, like I said, for the website. And I'll verify that these other two pieces are the same as the ones that are in it as well. So there you go. So the Armory Craft new barrels that they just came out with, very nice looking. I do like how they got the design in here too. Obviously keeps it lubricated and cleaned up as well and cooled down. Very nice. I do have the Mod X9, which I'm going to put on here, and we'll try that out and see how that runs. If you have the Armory Craft compensators, that will fit right on there as well. So very nice, very happy with it. Again, so if you want to use that type of barrel with no LCI, which is getting harder and harder to find, all you got to do is remove the LCI, and then everything will work fine. No more of those gases will come out through there and get all over your optic, okay? So there you have it. That's how you do it. If you do enjoy these types of videos, please subscribe. There should be a button right down here in the corner. If you smash that baby, I'd really appreciate it. And then if you need anything for your SIG Sauers, SIGguy.com. I got over 1,200 different products from 50 different companies, all different upgrades. And I've invested a lot into SIG factory parts as well for all your SIGs. As routine schedules stuff needs to be replaced according to your round count, okay? So, as always, thank you for watching, and have a great day.